the August 25th, 2025 board meeting in session. Let's do the flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jackie, do you want me to verbally call the attendance, or are you just going to take it?
I just take it.
Okay. All right. So, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay. I'll just say all in favor. Saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the agenda is approved as written. Are there any signups for public comment?
No.
Okay, so that moves us to student board member comments. Student representative Mares, do you have anything to update us with?
Not really. Freshman orientation was today, and that went pretty smooth, I think. I think this is our second biggest class in the school. That's pretty much it. I got in my group all of our foreign exchange students, and they're really awesome. I think it's one girl from the Netherlands and one guy from Poland. Yeah, fall sports start today, so make sure to go to the games because those are really fun. And I guess that's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Great, well, thank you for attending a summer meeting. All right, so moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor of,
There is an NMEA, an agreement on there.
Mhm.
And we don't have a quorum that is not affiliated with NMEA right now. Wait, what?
Nick would have to recuse himself since his wife is a teacher, so we don't have three. to-
yes, you know.
I mess everything up, I'm sorry.
No, you don't. We're happy to have you here.
No, I forgot about that. I was thinking about President Youngberg having to recuse himself from, but either way, yeah, we also have,
He's PSC, Nick is NMEA.
is, okay.
So I need to take that back and move that we approve it minus the,
No, we can't. We can't approve it because we don't have a quorum.
September's board meeting.
You're right.
We need to take it off. You guys need to approve.
Okay,
Make a
yeah.
motion
Is
to
there a
remove it.
motion to amend the consent agenda by removing the MOU with NMEA?
I move that we approve the amended consent agenda, removing the MOU with the NMEA.
Right, is there a second?
That would have to be-
Yes, me. Do we even have a quorum to amend the consent agenda? Okay, so we will remove the MOU with NMEA. We will table that for our September board meeting.
And do we want to signify by saying aye? Is that so we all have that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All in favor, say aye.
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 It's been approved.
It's okay, we're all. Just not here. It's good.
Okay, so moving on, I'm going to table the 5-minute recess until later in the meeting. So looking at the superintendent update. Dr. Michaels, is there something you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to move the transportation letter of achievement that was listed to our next meeting so that we could have recognition for all of those members. And I would like to give a little update for our teaching and learning this time of year. As you heard, we had freshman orientation today. It was a great turnout. Those ambassadors for the high school did a wonderful job with tours and really having engaging activities. And tomorrow is Hawkins sixth grade orientation, and then anybody who's new for seventh and eighth grade is invited to come on a tour. So we're super excited about that. But I did want to share a little information about what was shared at convocation regarding safety updates. We had a wonderful convocation with all our certified and classified members last week, Tuesday, kicking the year off. And one of the things that Mr. Ellis and I shared during one of the smaller sessions was about standard response protocol, which is what we're moving to in place of Alice. And so I wanted to share with the board, as well as anyone who's watching, a little bit information about this emergency procedures. And they are right in line with the FEMA guidance. And many schools in this area have already adopted it. It usually gets referred to as the SRP. But the goal is to have a more common and clear vocabulary and action plan for emergency situations. And this is 5 simple action-based hazard responses that are flexible enough to deal with all different types of hazard situations. So our goal is to try to promote consistency among all staff and students and build this into our drills across the year, so that if there were ever an emergency situation, that there be a quick and coordinated action. This comes from the I Love You Guys Foundation, which has been around since, I think it's either 2006 or 2009. It's used in over 50,000 schools across the country and was developed through a nonprofit after they lost their own child in a school shooting in Colorado. And since then, their foundation, the family, has been working with law enforcement across the country, FEMA, to really try to make sure that there are actionable and easy things for staff to remember in a crisis situation. So a lot of people over the decades have been trained in ALICE, and some of the confusion with ALICE is different people will call it different things, like Code Orange or Homer Simpson's in the building and different things. And this is very, very straightforward. There's hold, secure, lockdown, evacuate, and shelter. And the reason that it's focused on actions instead of scenarios is it helps remove some of the confusion and some of the trauma that is sometimes associated with the drills of ALICE from the past. So all the staff across the district have a new poster that is updated in their room. Let's see, I don't know who's you are. Can you go back to? No, I'm sorry. Okay, go forward, sorry. Beep, no, one more. So this is the poster that will be in all the rooms, as well as we're adding them to the hallways. And one of the other things that makes this very actionable is every single time a hold is called, there is also a standard response that is given over the PA system. So if a hold was called, that is really business as usual for students in instruction, but the announcement is hold in your room or area, clear the halls, students. And so it helps address what students do, what adults do, but also we have built in some communications that will go to families. So these first couple of times that we're doing a hold, we'll have a response that goes out to families so they know that there was a hold, which meant business as usual. A situation that might call for that is an emergency that is like a health situation where you had to call the squad, or I don't know, a rabid dog in the building, or broken glass, or something that you really just, everything needs to continue, but you need the students to stay in the hallways and not exchange classes. So secure, get inside, lock outside doors, and then we have our lockdown, which is what most people are familiar with the ALICE, evacuate, and shelter. And as we go through these, if you go one more, Jackie, this is what we started going through with our staff altogether. They're certified and classified in Tuesday, and then the principals and Mr. Ellis and Mr. Turner and I will be going over this with the building principals and in buildings as well. But here it kind of goes through that there's a directive, the students are always told what to do, and then the staff knows what to do. And so these images will be consistent across the district and in all situations. So again, we have hold, secure, lockdown, evacuate, and shelter. So I anticipate that after the first several times that we call a hold and we send home a notification to families, that will just become something that is not stressful and not triggering to students to get on their cell phones and start texting their families that there's something going on. And the same thing, that we'll let them know that if there was ever a lockdown situation, that as soon as it's safely possible, we will immediately let families know what's going on. As part of this safety protocol, there's also a reunification protocol for if there was a crisis or you were doing a drill of a lockdown, how do you reunite families and students in this situation? So again, we will be practicing all these in our drills. They also have, in addition to posters, there's little pocket guides that will go on the back of staff badges so that they will have it right there at their hands as well. And again, we're building in some clear communications so that we can try to proactively communicate with parents and guardians to reduce worry and confusion when a drill is happening. We found out that our new middle school assistant principal actually had used this protocol in his previous district in Idaho, and it had been brought to his school district by local law enforcement. And as I told our staff, I feel very fortunate that we have such a strong and robust partnership with the county sheriff and with our regional fire authorities as well as FEMA, and we have a regular communication meeting where we're meeting monthly and talking about things that we can all do to work collaboratively to help keep our students and safe from an environment standpoint. So I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware that we were moving from ALIS to SRP. And then, again, there will be a communication that goes out to all families tomorrow before the first day of school, letting them know about the change. But hopefully it will just better help families feel like they're getting communication quickly when there is either a drill or a situation happening at the school. So could I try to answer any questions from the board on that? It's okay. If
It'll
not,
come to me.
no, that's fine.
No, I just love the idea of it being more clear because, I mean, even for myself, when I would hear some of the things, I'm like, wait, that's great, but what does that mean? And having something that the children can understand and kind of have a culture of safety, so to speak, I like that idea, so.
Good. I will say the protocol's been around long enough that, since I can't remember, it's either 2006 or 2009, but there are universities that have started adopting it as well because so many students they would get that have had this for many years and it's just second nature at this point. So if you go on the I Love You Guys Foundation, there are some additional videos and additional communications if you want to know more either about the organization or some of the work that they've done. Mr. King, Mr. Turner, Mr. Ellis, Mrs. Moore, and myself went to a full-day training up in Bremerton. The Educational Service District put it on, and there were multiple other districts from our areas that were there for the training. And they did a very nice job, and we're very proactive in explaining how this could really help families feel that there's a good culture of safety, like you said. So, yeah, and that is it, so.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we have a teaching and learning.
That was kind of my
was
teaching
the
and learning.
teaching and learning,
Yeah,
okay.
so we have some important updates from Mr. King.
Oh, I don't even have my thing on over here. Did you hear that?
Okay, good evening, school board. My name is Dan King. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations here in North Mason School District. Tonight, I want to begin with presenting our budget status report for our general fund, which is being shown on the screen. This shows our general fund through July 31st. Here it is almost the end of August, but that's our last full complete month of data. You can see at the end of July, our year-to-date revenues amounted to $39,889,002. Our year-to-date expenditures were at $39,642,799. It always makes me feel good when our revenues exceed our expenditures. It just worked out that way because of the way our apportionment is percentaged out throughout the school year. We get a pretty large apportionment in July. We should have a pretty good size apportionment in August as well, not quite as large as July. July is a 12.5%, August a 10%. Our month-end fund balance at the end of July was $2,428,076. You can see above the table that our budgeted ending fund balance, which we budgeted in the budget and approved last August, was $2,204,491. So our fund balance was above that at the end of July, and we hope to achieve our mark of at least $2,204,491. We're actually projecting it to be a little bit more than that at the end of this fiscal year and beginning of next fiscal year, which I'll be getting to in just a few minutes. Moving on to our other funds and our capital projects fund at the end of July. The fund balance was $195,228, an increase of $168,614. Largely, that is due to we paid back the interfund loan. We had borrowed money from the capital projects fund to put into the general fund for that lean month of June, and so then we paid it back at the soonest opportunity. We had an obligation to pay it back by the end of August. Our debt service fund ended with a fund balance of $2,336,242. The ASB ended with $371,475, and our transportation vehicle fund ended with a fund balance of $190,455. Our new bus, I learned, is supposed to arrive tomorrow.
Woo!
Yes, it's so exciting. And that bus is a lift bus. It has 2 lifts. That'll be great. I believe it can accommodate 3 students in wheelchairs.
So is it a full length?
So, and I might have misspoke. It has, I believe, 1 lift, but it can accommodate 3 students in wheelchairs. So it's a larger size bus to be used for special services. Question?
Oh,
about
that was my question, was it the full size or the?
It's
mid-size?
kind of like a mid-size bus.
Mid-size, yeah.
It's
Great.
pretty neat looking.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
So, Mr. King, I know that many people will be saying, how are we buying a bus when you're strapped for money? So
Yes.
how does that work?
Thank you for asking. That's a very good question and one that really is important to clarify. So the Transportation Vehicle Fund is a separate fund that gives us an allotment towards buying school buses and school buses only, with some exceptions. We can purchase major purchases for repairing buses, like a new transmission. We couldn't use that for like new tires or spark plugs or windows, but it's really meant for large capital purchases in the transportation department. We can't use it for paying our staff, for their salaries or keeping the lights on. So the Transportation Vehicle Fund is based on a depreciation schedule. Each one of our buses has a lifespan, and each year we get a certain amount of dollars towards each of those aging buses. And then every August in our apportionment, we get an allocation specifically for the Transportation Vehicle Fund to replenish our aging fleet. And so what we usually do, if we can keep the bus, we will, if it still has life in it. Sometimes, though, it just isn't really worth keeping alive. We have buses, though, that we stretch 2, 3, 4, 5, even longer beyond its life expectancy. So when we get a new bus, typically we're taking one of those older buses that's even well beyond its lifespan and surplusing that. And usually what we do is we take it to Stokes Auction in Port Orchard and auction it off, and we get a little bit of revenue from that as well. We try our best to try to get a little something back, and sometimes we get something back through selling scrap metal and things like that as well. Also, if there's equipment on the bus that we can keep, like cameras, we take those off the old bus and put them on the new bus. Radios, cameras, things like that. So our new bus is arriving tomorrow, and we will be paying the invoice on that bus probably during our mid-September accounts payable. And so that will be in a 25-26, it'll be a 25-26 expenditure. And so those dollars are carrying forward into the next year, and it will be spending that fund balance down. However, we are getting our new allocation too with our August apportionment, about $285,000 more into that fund. So we can buy new buses from this fund, and although it could appear that we have some funds available to spend on big assets like school buses, but those monies are strictly used for that purpose. And even though we're purchasing new buses, it doesn't mean that our other funds are amply funded. So our general fund, for example, is not amply funded. And we usually do not use our general fund for school buses. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to the fiscal year 25-26 budget presentation. So these slides summarize the fiscal year 25-26 budget that is documented in a report called the F-195 and the F-195F. The F-195 is about 150 pages and then some. When you attach the F-195F to that, you should have that in the documents you received. The F-195F is a 4-year budget. It's required by the state that school districts prepare a 4-year budget. But that's using a lot of different projections without any real knowledge of funding changes based on legislation or actual enrollment. So it's a best, the F-195F is a best guess going forward for the next 4 years. But the 25-26 F-195 is, I would say, a very strong plan for what we know we'll have in terms of revenues, expenditures, fund balances for this coming fiscal year, which begins September 1st. And so that's really where I want to focus this presentation, is on this 25-26 budget. And that is what the school board needs to approve in a resolution, which will follow here in a few moments, which gets submitted to OSPI and certified. So I want to begin with some enrollment history, because most of our general fund apportionment is driven by enrollment. And this enrollment here shows a 10-year enrollment based on the averages for 2015-16 through 23-24, and actually even through 24-25. Those are averages. And the 2025-26 school year has budgeted our enrollment to be 2,297 students, and that includes our running start. If you subtract the 70 students that we're projecting for running start this coming year, our budgeted enrollment is 2,227 students. So that is the number that the F-195 apportionment is generated. The apportionment is generated from that enrollment number, 2,227 students. Now, where did that number come from? How did we get that? Well, we look at our current enrollment from this previous year, but also we use some analytics from a company called Flow Analytics, who did a demographic study and presented a report to us. And they give us a low, middle, and high projection for the upcoming, I think, decade. And so for the 25-26 school year, the 2,227 students was at their middle projection. And if you look at that, it's just a slight increase. It's not flat, it's a little above flat. Now, we really won't know what our actual enrollment is until we do our actual count for apportionment on the first October Monday. So we'll see during our October board meeting where we landed. So far, things look pretty promising because our enrollment numbers are showing fairly strong for this point in time. But we always want to make sure we're cautious and not overly optimistic with that until, the first day of school. And then there's still some change happening because we have kindergarten starting a little bit later. And sometimes we have students that are still on vacation. So the first day of school, you don't really know exactly how many students you have. And we do a count every day for the first few days of school. But we have had some new construction in the area lately, and that I think is helpful. And we anticipate more new construction to come this year and the following years. So that's a good thing. Many districts in our state are actually seeing a decline in enrollment. And I think for us, worst case would staying flat. Best case would be a slight increase each year. And I think that's what we would expect. Things don't really look like they're going to be declining. So not only do we have some new construction happening in the area, but the Navy has brought in a new aircraft carrier, the Ronald Reagan, and there are more families in this community as well because of that aircraft carrier coming into our shipyard in Bremerton and being there for a while for repairs. Okay, let's move on to a summary of the general fund. So we have 5 funds, and the main one that we use for our day-to-day operations is the general fund. And this is our largest fund. The revenues in this fund come from our state apportionment, school lunch program, transportation allocation. Now that's the regular student to from transportation allocation, not the transportation vehicle fund. Categorical funding from programs such as Title I, Title II, Title III, highly capable, CTE, programs like that. Other grants that we apply for, and even investment earnings. Those are just some examples. Those are the main kinds of revenues. And then the expenditures, 85% are going towards staff salaries and benefits, which is normal for a school district. Somewhere between, I would say normal for a school district would be between 82 and 86%. Some districts might have a little bit more, some a little less, but we're right in there in how we operate. And then the remaining expenditures are in what we call MSOCs, or material, supplies, and operating costs. And those are, keeping the lights on, putting gas in the school buses, paying our utilities, right? Also our insurance, which is a pretty large expense, upward of almost $800,000 for our school district in this coming year. It also includes contractual costs for some of our student support services, like nursing support and occupational therapy and speech therapy, when we are unable to hire our own employees for those different kinds of roles. And it includes purchase services for when we need someone to come in and fix something that's beyond the capacity of our maintenance department. So the list can go on and on. But those are called MSOCs. So about 15% of our budget is in MSOCs. So we're anticipating that we will end 24-25 and begin 25-6 with $2,350,000 as a fund balance. Our budgeted revenues are $42,690,663. Our expenditures that were, and this really is our budget, $42,367,652. We do transfer out money out of the general fund to the debt service fund to pay our non-voted debt. So our debt payment for this coming fiscal year will be $294,713 for our non-voted debt. So that gets transferred into the debt service fund. So I'm showing that there. And we anticipate or project our fund balance at the end of 25-6 to be $2,378,298. Now, I think it would be important to mention that this budget is smaller than last year's, and usually our budget increases by $1.5 to $2 million, or maybe even higher each year, because our state might give some IPD, inflator for salaries. We're getting more funds through our apportionment for different ways that it goes up through like a larger Title I apportionment and things like that. But going into 25-26, our budget is going down. It's a smaller amount than last year, which is not usual. The reason is because of the levy failure in February of 2025. We made some significant reductions. Many of those are in staffing because staffing is our largest cost. And then also some cuts, reductions in MSACs as well, which you can see here on this slide. So in all, it was about $4.3 million in reductions. The next slide shows just kind of a visual of how this year's budget in red compares to the previous 2 years. And you can see how our certificated salary budget, classified salaries or benefits, and supplies resources are less going into 25-26 than they were in 24-25. Now, our purchase services are a little higher, and the reason is there are things out of our control with purchase services. We did cut some purchase service costs by eliminating many of our subscriptions, electronic subscriptions. But some of our purchase services costs have increased. For example, our insurance went from about $710,000 to $795,000, and we have no control over that. So we weren't able to cut in ways that would show here a decrease, but we did make some cuts in purchase services, but our actual amount budget for purchase services is higher than last year. And then going into the next slide. This right here is just a summary of our actual, this is off the F195, so the report generates it this way where it shows actual numbers for 23-24 for enrollment and staffing, and then budgeted for 24-5 and budgeted for 25-6 for comparison. So you can see our actual K-12 FTE in 23-24, and then you can see what we're budgeting, 2,297. That includes Running Start right there. Our FTE, this one really is an eye-opener where you can see our certificated FTE is smaller this year than it was the previous 2 years. In fact, it's 14 certificated staff less this year than last year, and our classified about 15 less. Going into our general fund financial summary. Again, actual in 23-24 compared to the budgeted in 24-5 and 25-6. So you can see how the revenues increased from 23-4 to 24-5, but are decreasing between 24-5 and 25-6, as I mentioned previously. If we were to go back 10 years, you would see historically there's an increase every year when we have a levy. But because we cannot count on the levy, we do have a levy going on the November 4th ballot. Should we receive those levy dollars, it will change the picture of our 25-26 budget, and we'll do a revision and modify our revenues and expenditures to reflect those dollars. Let's go on to the next. Well, and let me just highlight the expenditures here as well, because really when we talk about our budget, we're talking about our expenditures. And so we have authority to spend only up to what we authorize in the resolution tonight. So we'll have authority to spend $42,367,652. If it looked like we were going to exceed that, we would need to do a budget resolution somewhere down the road before the end of next August. However, if we all of a sudden realize that we were going to receive more than $42,690,663 in revenues, we would not need to do a budget extension. We can collect more than that, and we don't need to have a formal process. But our budget, when we talk about our budget, we mean what are our maximum expenditures. Now let's move on to the capital projects fund budget. This fund is used for capital projects, for building facilities, major repairs on facilities, and we can even use these funds for the planning of new facilities. So the revenues come from transfers in from other funds, capital grants, housing impact fees. So when contractors when builders are building new housing developments, we collect impact fees for each family unit, and then investment earnings. There's other ways we can get revenues in here as well, but those are the main ones. The expenditures, construction of capital facilities, land acquisition, if we wanted to buy a plot of land for construction or to place a new building, for example, and then improvements to capital facilities. We're planning on beginning with a fund balance of $178,225. Our revenues and other financing sources for 25-26 amount to $572,094. We're planning in expenditures $550,094. Now the reason is we're receiving some revenues for grants for the green energy or energy efficiency that we need to do in our schools. And so we're planning on receiving those grant dollars, and we need to spend those grant dollars. So primarily that will be for assessments of our energy use in our buildings and starting with upgrades towards our HVAC systems. And then our ending fund balance is projected to be $200,225. The next fund is the debt service fund. The revenues come from property taxes, timber excise tax, general fund transfers in, and investment earnings. And the expenditures are for the principal and interest on voted and non-voted debt. So we anticipate our beginning fund balance to be $2,329,242. And the reason I say anticipate, because on August 31st, that's our year end. What our year end fund balance is on that day becomes the beginning fund balance on September 1. But as we do the year end process, we have until November 15th to be done with our year end. And we're still making adjustments as we do reconciliations and whatnot. And so we really won't know what our beginning fund balance is in this account or any of our other funds until we finish year end mid-November. In December, I will present a year-end report, and then we will have our true year-end fund balances, which are also our September 1 beginning fund balances. So revenues, we're projecting $3,386,691. Expenditures, $3,337,191. And transferring out, that's interest earned from the debt service to the general fund of $40,000. To give us an ending fund balance of $2,338,742. Next is our transportation vehicle fund. The revenues come from our state depreciation allocation, school bus surplus. If we sell a bus at Stokes auction, for example, you might get 10 or 12,000 or something like that, maybe less, depending on the bus and how old it is. And investment earnings. And we expend those dollars by buying new school buses and major repairs of buses. So our beginning fund balance, we're projecting to be 191,000. We're expecting 300,000 to 20 in revenues. Now we know our allocation will be 285,000, but we also get investment earnings, and that's why it's going to be more than the 285,000. Our expenditures, we want to plan and have the capacity to spend all of it if we decide to buy a couple more buses next year. And so we want to make sure we have approval to spend 450,000. We might not spend all of it, but we want to make sure that we do have the authority to do that. That would leave an ending fund balance of $41,220. And then last but not least is the ASB fund. So the ASB fund is largely managed by the student ASB groups in the secondary schools. And the elementaries also have ASBs, but they don't have ASB Leadership Council. The school administrators, they manage those ASB budgets. For expenditures must be for extracurricular activities. We use the acronym CARS for that. Cultural, athletic, recreational, and social purposes. So those funds cannot be used for academic purposes. For example, if there was an activity at the school where students needed to participate, were required, and were going to be graded on it, you could not use ASB funds for that. The revenues are from ASB cards, club fees, athletics fees, gate receipts, and ticket sales when it comes to things like athletics or performances, music performances, for example, theater. Anything that's ASB, concession stand, fundraisers, donations, and investment earnings. Our beginning fund balance is $413,891. We're expecting $431,589 in revenues and $388,219 in expenditures to give us an ending fund balance of $457,261. Now the next slide just summarizes each of the 5 funds so you can see the big picture. So we have the revenues and expenditures for each fund, same numbers that I just went over. Any transfers out. Now, the revenues over expenditures I hadn't touched on previously, but this shows that for each account, we're expecting our revenues to be just over the expenditures in most of the funds, not the transportation one, because we do have a bus that we're getting ready to purchase with this year's money, but we're purchasing it next year. But you can see with the general fund, our revenues over expenditures aren't much. We really do have a very tight budget, and it's going to be a challenging year. That's why we have a levy on the ballot. So a successful levy would allow us to not do extras. Really, we do need those levy dollars for some true operational costs, things that we've just delayed and put on hold, like purchasing student laptops or laptop replacement or maintenance that needs to happen to our facilities as our facilities are aging. And in some cases, too, restoring some of our staffing where it's essential. But it's really important that we also work on rebuilding our fund balance so that we can stay within our 8 to 10% fund balance policy. And so, although we cut approximately $4.3 million, it doesn't mean if we pass a levy, we have all this extra money. When we pass a levy, we will be very careful and prudent and prioritize how those levy dollars will be put back into the budget, and what levy dollars we need to make sure is there to follow our fund balance policy, so that we can keep it within that 8 to 10% range. Now, it's important that we're in that 8 to 10% range for a lot of different reasons, but primarily we want to show that we have enough money in the bank to sustain the school district for 30 days or longer in the event that we had no incoming revenues. So, to be healthy as a school district, we want to have at least 30 days, but some districts that are really healthy have 60 days or even longer. So we want to do our best to get at least to 30, but beyond that. And so currently, in $24-25, 1 month of expenditures for payroll and accounts payable is around, I would say, $3.5 to $3.7 million in expenditures a month. And so that's kind of a target number that we'd want to be at. So let's continue. Oh, my last slide just shows, and there's a quote at the bottom that I like. I've used this quote before, I've shared this, but I think the reason I continue to highlight this quote every year is because I truly believe it, and I don't think there's a better quote about budgeting, especially in the area of education, and really why we're here, what our purpose is, than this quote. A budget is not just a collection of numbers, but an expression of our values and aspirations. And even in hard times, we do our very, very best to give students the best learning experience possible. When we made changes to the budget based on the levy failure, our mindset the whole time was, what can we do that has the least amount of impact on students? It's impossible to make cuts like we've done without having impact on students. There definitely are going to be impacts on students in 25-26 due to those budget reductions. But we kept this really up front for us, and we truly believe that we have an obligation to serve our students well, and it really takes resources to do that. And so as we made some very, very difficult decisions, we really kept this in mind. What can we do that has the least amount of negative impact on students? And we did the very best we could. Now, even in times where things are really strong financially, we also have this belief, because if we felt like we had more dollars than we actually needed, which I can't even imagine the day that we did, but we would still think, how can we best use these resources to support our students learning well and to improve their educational experience? That's the mindset we have in the business office when we're managing our budget, so that we're not wasting money on frivolous things or things that aren't important. And that's the mindset that the district leaders have when we're making budget decisions. And the budget decisions aren't entirely mine or happening in the business office. They're happening in cabinet with the superintendent, with our teaching and learning leaders, with our department leaders, operations leaders. And that is what we're always thinking. How can we best use our dollars to support our students learning well, to provide a safe learning environment for them, to make sure that they're getting the best education possible, to make sure we're hiring the best staff possible, the most qualified staff. We're really making sure that when there's things that come up, do we really need that? Is that a want, or is that really a need, and how is that going to impact our students? And so being an educator, before I was a fiscal guy, although actually I was a fiscal person in the Marine Corps before I became an educator. My heart is in students, in student learning, in student growth, in achievement. And that is how I look at things when I build the budget. And so when I built the 25-26 budget, that was first and foremost in my mind. So I just wanted to end with that. Are there any questions?
I actually had a question going back a little bit towards the grant that you talked about that would help with HVAC or looking at how effective our buildings are, efficient our buildings are. I was just curious, that kind of perked the bond part of my brain
Yes.
with a potential bond on the horizon. Would that be focused, would we just kind of go where the need is, or would we do that with the anticipation of changes that might come with a bond? I don't know if I made myself very clear with that, but.
I think I understand your question. So currently, there's a timeline, and I don't have it all in my head. I have to actually have it in front of me for the clean energy requirements that we have to follow. And a first step in that is doing assessment of all of our energy use in all of our school buildings. And that's actually a pretty costly expense for the school district. And so the grants that we're receiving, one is from the Department of Commerce and one is from OSPI. We have to use those for our energy audits. And with those energy audits, we will be, we're working with McDonald Miller as a contractor to do those audits. And they will help us plan the kinds of upgrades that are needed based on that assessment information. And from that, like our Community Bond Advisory Committee can use that information to think of how that might fit into the plan for a future bond.
Okay.
Also, though, bond or no bond, there are some requirements and things that must happen following a timeline. So if not through a bond, we have to find other ways to keep moving forward, making these steps towards improving our energy use in each of our buildings. If not, we could receive fines.
Potential penalties?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I answer your?
You
question?
did. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
I have a couple of questions, but actually I don't know, Mr. King, if they're in your wheelhouse. They have to do with enrollment. Do we know how many students we have in our district that are on a choice transfer?
I don't know. We can find that information, and I think that's
Okay.
a number that's continuously moving right now. A lot of that's still happening. That's not something that the business office typically tracks, but through our enrollment process. If you would like that information, we can get that to you.
I'm just wondering if that's an avenue we can explore for enrollment. You know,
Yes.
what is drawing those kids in
Yes.
and could we potentially draw more? And then the other question was, do we know or do we track the number of declarations of intent to homeschool that we receive? Because that would also be an interesting avenue to
Yes,
explore is
yes.
why are we, I don't want to say losing, but I can probably guess, but why are some students and families choosing to not enroll in our schools?
Yes,
And what
yes.
can we explore there?
And- Yes. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw an increase in homeschooling, and many of those students did return back to the brick and mortar school, but not all.
Right.
Some families maybe realize there are some resources that support learning at home, and we have HomeLink as well. So, and realize that, hey, this is possible. We can just keep doing this. But you're right. Could be some data that we might find useful of why families are choosing to homeschool.
Okay.
We can get you those numbers.
Yeah, okay, thank you, I appreciate that. I appreciate this. Slide, is it 4? Is tough. It's tough to see those cuts. And as you mentioned, one wants to cut the farthest from the student. but even those that perhaps don't come into contact with students regularly, the impact of them leaving is going to be felt by our kids.
Yes.
I do appreciate you and Cabinet and Dr. Michael, Dr. Rosenbach before her for coming up with this, but it's tough and it's been hard on our communities. But you did bring us in under budget. There is a school district that we all think of as a pretty affluent school district that has been put in binding conditions by the state.
Yes.
So this is not like a North Mason problem. This is not a Belfair problem. This is not a Mason County problem. Like, this is happening all over the state where districts are really struggling with, as you mentioned, a lot of them with declining enrollment, and just the increasing costs of everything and failed levies. So I appreciate that you've been able to present us with a budget that comes under budget and that this will be going on to the state should we pass it. But I do want to recognize those community members that have been reaching out to myself and my fellow board members that are very concerned with the cuts and very upset about them.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Thank you for sharing.
any other thoughts, questions?
Well, I definitely appreciate, I sit on the levy committee as a resource. I don't get to do all the fun stuff. Well, I guess I could go out and do the stuff once it's there, but I feel like the group has a really good handle on seeing our community and seeing them, like, where they're coming from, because they are part of the community. So they know where it's coming from, and they want to explain things better, and I think we've done that before, but I think the approach, they're doing different approaches to reaching people. And like Bo, I like Bo Bacon's on our committee, and he said, I like how he puts, how you say that, the state pays for basic education, but it's the enrichment that the levy pays for. And it's the things like you can get a basic ice cream cone, but the kid wants the sprinkles on top to want the ice cream cone. You know, like to a kid that wants to go to school, you give them a basic plain box, and to make them want to go, you know, you got to put color on it. You got to, you know, computers and all these things that these kids need to flourish and succeed. What our levy actually pays for. And I think that can reach some people that may not see why levies are important. So I'm pretty excited and hoping that people see what I'm seeing. So that's pretty neat. But I appreciate how you put this all together and all the information that you share. I don't really have a question, because you always answer the question and you will come up with, oh, and before we even ask it, you'll go, oh, and here it is. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanna.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
You got anything else?
So this next document is a resolution for the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget for each of the 5 funds. Those are the expenditure amounts, which we call our budget. This resolution allows the school district to spend up to these amounts in each of these 5 budgets. These are the same numbers that were presented on the slides, listed as expenditures. Should this be approved tonight, I will submit it to our regional Olympic ESD 114 in Bremerton tomorrow. They will send a certification notice to Dr. Michael, and she will then certify it through the EDS system, and it will go to OSPI.
So
So she has to.
can we move to approve? Is that
We
what
have
comes
to
now?
open
Calls for-
a public
Oh,
hearing.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, now do you open the public hearing or do you ask for I think you ask? right? Or do you open a public meeting?
Public.
After we.
Public hearing. We have to open it now, so we have to hear testimony on the budget before
Oh,
we vote
okay,
on the
there you go.
budget.
Yeah, you're right.
So I will open the public hearing for the North Mason School District 25-26 budget and four-year budget plan. Is there anyone who would like to give testimony on the budget as presented? Okay. With no one wanting to give testimony on the budget as presented, I will conclude, or I will close the public hearing. And now we will move to a vote. So in the absence of testimony that demonstrates that the budget as presented conflicts with our ER policies, the administration is recommending that we, the Board of Directors, approve and adopt the 25-26 North Mason School District budget and summary four-year budget plan as presented in Resolution 21G25. Is there a motion to do so?
I move that we approve and adopt the 2025 and 2026 North Mason School District budget and summary four-year budget plan as presented in Resolution 21-G-25.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay. Any discussion, which we've already had some, but just in case? Okay, all in favor of passing Resolution 21G25, the annual budget for North Mason School District's 25-26 school year? Say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Resolution 21G25 passes.
Okay, thank you. So we have another resolution to look at and for approval. So what this is, Resolution 22-G-25 is the Capital Projects Fund budget extension for this fiscal year that we're still in. We have a requirement that if we extend our budget, if we go past the expenditures that were approved in the original budget, we have to do a budget resolution to extend the budget. So in our Capital Projects Fund budget in 24-25, we added $151,634 in grant revenues to repair the PA system at Sand Hill Elementary. If you might remember that we passed a resolution back in February of 2025 for the emergency repair pool funds that OSPI so generously gave us so that we can repair the fire panel, or I'm sorry, the PA system at Sand Hill Elementary. And so we started the year with a $300,000 budget. We approved $300,000 in expenditures. But with these additional revenues, we've exceeded that. And so this resolution allows us to spend up to $475,000. We won't spend that much, but we want to leave some in there. But this resolution extends that budget from the original $300,000 to $475,000, which is an increase of $175,000. Do you have any questions about it?
No, I don't have a question necessarily, but I think with the state of our buildings at the current time, I think it's prudent that we do plan for the inevitable. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I am good.
Okay. All right, so since this is a resolution, we need to open, so we'll open a public hearing to hear from members of the public who wish to speak for or against this Capital Projects Fund budget extension. Are there any that would like to give testimony for or against? Okay, seeing that there are no members of the public that would like to give testimony, I will close the public hearing on Resolution 22G25, Capital Projects Fund Budget Extension. And is there a motion to approve and adopt Resolution 22G25, Capital Projects Fund Budget Extension as presented?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'll try it. I'll try
Yeah,
it.
you
I
go.
move that we approve and adopt Resolution 22G25, Capital Projects Fund Budget Extension as presented.
Very good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Working on
Is
it.
there a second?
I second that.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor of approving and adopting Resolution 22G25, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it unanimously passes. Thank you, Mr. King, for all your work.
You're welcome, and thank you all for all your work.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Not only do I thank you for all that work, but then you come here and explain it to us, and I know that that is energy on top of that energy, so I really appreciate that, big time. Thank you.
all right, seeing that Director Shepherd Bull is not here, I don't believe we have a ledge report. So I am going to ask if my fellow board members would like to take a 5-minute recess before we move on with the agenda.
Sure.
Is that good? All right, so we will recess at 7:36 and we will come back at 7:41. Okay, we're calling the meeting back to order at 7:44. And we are now at monitoring reports in the agenda. Sorry, my computer is. Apologize, it's skipping on me. Okay.
No problem.
So this monitoring report is a reflection on the 24-25 school year, which was under Dana Rosenbach.
So I think, do you mind if I say something?
go ahead.
No, so with these monitoring reports, the first one, which is ER1, Expectations of Superintendent, this policy is referencing practices, activities, decisions, and conditions that have already taken place. And so for this report and the next one, you'll see that I included that this is a reflection on last school year with Ms. Rosenbach's leadership. And I have, every confidence that she followed this policy. But I wanted it to reflect that it was not a reflection of what has happened only from July 1st. And so I thought that was important for the board to know. And then when we have an opportunity to have a work session, I would love to sit with the board and look at when some of these reports are put forth in the calendar year to see if maybe there's a better place for some of them to fit than the way we currently have them distributed. And then you'll also notice when you get to the third report, I started a new format, which that one has to do with budgeting, and Mr. King and I have been talking that over, and so I'm happy to talk that one through. But again, would like to talk about maybe some different formats to share the information with the board and the community that might be a little more easy to feel like they're monitoring what we're doing, because we're doing a lot of hard work.
Okay, so as you said, there are,
So there's the ER1, Expectations of Superintendent. And then there's ER3, Treatment of Parents, Students, Staff, and the Public. And then the third one is ER4, which is expectations of the superintendent regarding budget planning. So in that one, you'll see that I've added 2 sections to each of the steps of the policy, which call out how we know as a district how we're being compliant, and then how I interpret the policy, and then the evidence that will be presented to the board of those compliance measures. And I did that for each of the sections. So there is the comprehensive summary format that's understandable, budget initiatives and funding sources. And so I'm happy to read or answer questions on that. I did ask Mr. King to sit and take a look at it as well. And he and I also had some conversations about how when we do have time to do a board work session, we'd like to maybe talk about how maybe some of this could be split apart and reported different times in the year.
Okay. All right, so let's start with ER1, expectations of superintendent, which again was under Dr. Rosenbach's leadership. So looking at the monitoring response, our options as a board is that Dr. Rosenbach was in compliance, or in compliance with the following exceptions, or not in compliance. Any comments, questions?
Are we moving or are we just talking about it? I think we have to move before we.
Yeah, we
speak.
can, so, is there a motion to find the superintendent, Dr. Rosenbach's performance to comply with ER1?
I move that we find Superintendent Rosenbach's performance to comply with ER1.
Okay, is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, any discussion?
None for me.
Do you know have any discussion for that?
Okay, all right, so then, all in favor of finding the superintendent in compliance with ER1, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That unanimously passes. Moving on to ER3, treatment of parents, students, staff, and the public. Is there a motion to find the superintendent, Dr. Rosenbach's performance to comply with ER3?
I move that we find Superintendent Rosenbach's performance to comply with ER3.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Any discussion?
None for me.
No, for me.
Okay. All in favor of finding Dr. Rosenbach and Dr. Rosenbach's performance to comply with ER3, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That unanimously passes. Dana? Yeah.
Sure. Oh, I never called her that. Terrible now, okay.
Okay, and for ER4, budget planning. Is there a motion to find the superintendent's performance to comply with ER4, which is budget planning?
I move that we find Superintendent Rosenbach's performance to comply with ER4.
Yeah, and I would say this one does actually
Encompass some of you.
encompass the beginning of my tenure as well
Okay, so this is
as
just yours or part of hers?
It's partly, so we'll just say superintendent.
superintendent.
Superintendent
Yeah.
to
Performance.
comply with ER4.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there a second to find the superintendent's performances to comply with ER4?
I second that.
Okay, just any discussion?
None for me.
Okay. Dr. Michael, did you want to, I apologize, did you want to talk through some things on this or explain some, highlight some things?
No, I just wanted to point out to the board that, for instance, the ER4, the policy, which is regarding budget planning, has multiple sections. And you can see those are the numbers, like, is consistent with board's established priorities, is in a comprehensive summary format, understandable to the board and the community, adequately describes major budget initiatives and funding sources. That is the part of the policy. And then the bulleted items underneath it are how I believe that my cabinet and I and leadership can express to the board and to the public how we are compliant. So, for instance, the board will be presented with an annual budget prior to adoption. A budget review will occur during an open public meeting. And then underneath, there's a little commentary that I've included on this report, which is a difference than what you've seen the last several years, which is the interpretation. So, for instance, my interpretation of that part of the policy is that the superintendent and staff must provide the board and community with a budget that's comprehensive yet understandable for all, and that the annual school board budget presentation should include an educational component outlining basic information about school district funding and budgeting. And then the compliance would be that there was an initial budget presentation in July that Mr. King put on for us, and then obviously you had another presentation today before adopting the budget. So I am happy to allow the board to take some time to read this over, and we can talk about it at the next meeting, or because it is a change in format, which makes this report much longer than probably what you're used to seeing. I'm happy to go through the entire thing, but I'm also happy to let you read it and then answer questions later.
I'm okay with doing how we do it right now, and then if there's questions later on, because I've looked through it before.
Okay.
So if I have questions later, I can always bring it up either at your office or
Sure.
in a meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have a
No, I concur.
reference there?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Okay. So do you want us to hold off on,
No, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to hold off if the format was going to present any
Okay.
questions or confusion for anybody on the board.
No, I appreciate the change. It's good. It's nice.
okay? So all in favor of finding the superintendent's performance to comply with ER4, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimously passed. And then we move on to policies. There's student success, responsible citizens, and organizational continuity, executive succession.
And these are just a review from our last one, correct?
I was not at the last
Yes,
board meeting, so I don't
these
know.
are a review from last month. And so these were the monitoring reports that were presented last month, which were a summary of the end of Ms. Rosenbach's tenure as superintendent.
These are, we just go over these if we want to, or revisit it, and we're not making any decisions on that one.
Yeah, there's no motion for them, just if there's any, if we want to discuss it or propose any changes.
So I'm wondering on this, how we have it set up, for F, here at the top, it says vote. Would we take F and move it into a next section because it's not a vote
I think-
situation?
I think the vote is just for the monitoring reports.
Well, it doesn't cut it off. And at F, see it says monitoring reports, and the vote says, it's right up here, and I can probably, oops.
Oh, no, yeah, it's right there.
So,
I
yeah,
thought that
so it
was,
says vote, and then up here, like we have discuss, and then vote, and then we should break F off next time. I don't think it's a big deal right now, but next time we would probably break that off and make that a discuss one, so that it, just for fine lines and that, but a clean, it's a clean agenda. It looks great. I just think we could put discuss there instead. And I know this is a new format as well, so It's not like our,
Yeah,
How
where
it
you,
was set up.
a new board software.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
has been tricky for all of us, so.
yeah.
This
But I
is
think
just the
that-
second month, so for some of you, just the first month, so.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So I don't know if that would become 6 or it would become, just leave it as F and then just add discuss. I don't care, whatever.
Okay, any discussion, proposed revisions on these policies?
None for me.
Okay. All right. All right. Any comments or announcements from the public? We have no one signed up, Jackie.
Mr. Kersey.
Oh, Mr. Kersey has signed up. Okay.
All right, good evening, Board. I'm Rob Kersey. I'm here in my capacity as a North Mason EA President, and I just very quickly wanted to officially extend our welcome to Dr. Michael. I've already had some chances to meet with her and discuss with her, and it feels like it's the start of a very long, hopefully, and productive relationship. So, welcome, Dr. Michael, and
Thank you.
thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
That's very good.
Okay. All right, so now good of the order. Anything we might want to share? I'll start with you, Nick.
Starting with me. Oh,
Yes.
great. No, I just, we've already talked about freshman orientation a little bit, so I won't go into that too much, but what a wonderful opportunity for some of our upperclassmen to, I'll say give back, but empathize and relate. I just know that I saw several of them. Anyway, it's just good to see them taking on a little bit more of a role, leadership or a mentor role, especially when many of them may be leaving to do running start and things like that. I like to see them involved early in the school year. Other than that, for the good of the order, I know during the summer it's a little harder sometimes to make those connections with folks, and I'm just looking forward to getting back into the school year and seeing them at band events, seeing them at sporting events, and just being able to be among more of the people that you may miss them during the summer. So that's it for me.
Well, I just got back from Hawaii, and my son's one of his best friends from childhood had moved over there some years ago, and this was the last year before they move on because they're military, and we were only a half hour from base, so he got to come and spend a whole day with us. But they start school a week before our kids, and so, but they get out a little bit before, and they have like some different things. So there he was kind of explaining some fun stuff there, but I felt like my son, he's been around here for so long, and it's a little bit personal, but it was cool. I always see my kid as a kid, and he's 15 years old, and it's hard to watch him grow up and be older, but I really feel that we got to go somewhere, and he got to be kind of an adult on it, because there's no kids with us, and he had his own hotel room, so he had his friend come over, and it was just like a really neat, and when we got home, he was so grown up, and I was so proud with that. That was just the one thing. And then my other thing is on the levy committee that I think I had to miss one because I was in Hawaii, so I didn't get to come. But just last week got to come and listen. And again, it's a really neat group. And I love that Dr. Michael, she sits there and she takes it all in, and I can tell she's computing, like she's like, okay, but and she doesn't want to, break in and say anything, because she's just, I don't know, you're really collected, but then I feel like you connected with everybody community-wise really well, and I love that your husband is visits there and does the thing he's doing there. I'm not sure the exact role, but he's a really neat guy, and I love that connection with you in our community. I think that we've been, I don't want to say missing that, but I think that's a really neat addition here. So Thank you
Just,
for,
just wait until you meet Poppy Ladd, so.
say that again?
Just wait until you meet my father-in-law, Poppy Ladd.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
so-
I'm excited, I'm excited.
Well, let's see, I apologize for missing the last board meeting. I had a family emergency, but before that, I got to meet with quite a few community leaders, and so I want to thank County Commissioner Randy Netherland and NMEA President Rob Kersey, and Sheriff Ryan Sperling, Representative Travis Couture, and Chamber of Commerce President Carrie Myers. They all met with me, and we talked about all kinds of things, and they were all either had already met you or were about to meet you, and were very excited and impressed on how you just dove right in. And meeting with all of them, it was really great to see how invested they all are in our community. We talked about the levy, we talked about school safety, past incidences, how to move forward, new superintendent, I mean, just everything. And so I'm excited for this new school year to see faces at extracurricular events, but also I am really hopeful that we will pass the levy. We have a lot of great leaders that were disappointed and are willing to work with us. And so hopefully we can do better by our kids this next election. So that's all I have. Do you have anything?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to share that I've really enjoyed meeting the many community partners that I've had an opportunity to meet. And Mrs. Young has done a great job of reaching out and helping schedule things, as well as people reaching out to us to schedule. But if there is a community partner that is listening or watching and is in a hurry, and they would like to make me move up on the priority list of having a meeting with them, I would welcome that phone call and that conversation with them. It's been great just really trying to get to know the community and the many different people who care about North Mason students and the history of this area. We're so excited to be welcoming back students on Wednesday. The first day of school for our 1st through 12th graders is Wednesday, and it is not an early release day since it's the first day of school. We have 6th grade, I think I mentioned, orientation, thank you, end of the day words, as well as elementary open house tomorrow night. So we're really looking forward to getting to meet some new families. But for instance, like the marching band director had reached out and invited me to come to his family night. I've been invited to attend an event at the Hub, and so as I've been invited, I've been able to attend everything I've been invited to so far. But again, I'm just looking forward to continuing to meet the people of the community and being able to associate names and faces. It takes me a couple times, but then I'm usually pretty good. So everyone's been very gracious about reminding me what their name is so I can start putting those names and faces together. So yeah, so we are looking forward to welcoming kids, and I'll be helping out at Belfair Elementary in the morning Wednesday, greeting kids and kind of helping do that beginning of the morning shuffle. So all of us will be in different spots. Yeah, I'm just excited to have the kids back. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Okay, so looking at our self-assessment of tonight's meeting, I will say that our general meeting behavior was satisfactory, and governance principles review, were the principles followed? Yes, overall satisfactory. So I will fill the rest of that out later. Okay, with no further business, I will remind all that our next board meeting is at 6:30 on September 22nd here in the boardroom. And with that, at 8:06 p.m., the meeting is adjourned.
My
Thank
birthday.
you.